Hello, my dear curious and studious students of surgery. Myself, Dr. Mahesh Chaudhary. I am warm welcoming you in my surgery lecture series. This surgery lecture series contains entire surgery with anesthesia, with radiology, with orthopedic. So stay tuned with us. Let's start our surgery lecture series. Welcome, my dear students, in my surgery lecture number 105, that is the hand. In this lecture, we will explore the infections of the hand, subcuticular infections, acute paronychia, chronic paronychia, subcutaneous infections of the digits, that is the pulse space infection, web space infection, then suppurative tenosynovitis, that is the thecal whitlow, complications of the suppurative tenosynovitis, pyogenic arthritis of the finger, infection of the cellular spaces of the hand, spreading infection, that is the lymphangitis and cellulitis. All these points are covered in this lecture. Now start with me the hand. In first, the infections of the hand, the etiology. Infection of the hand are more often seen among the manual workers and housewives. Small abrasions, pricks and careless nail paring are the main sources of the infection. Sometimes the cause remains unknown, probably through such a small injury which is forgotten by the patient. In most of the cases, more than 80%, the infecting organism is the Staphylo aureus, followed by the Streptococcus pyogenes and gram-negative bacilli. Now the classifications of the infections of the hand can be divided into two major headings, that is the localized infection and the spreading infection. First, the localized infection. Localized infections are further subdivided into 5 categories according to the types of the tissues involved. From superficial to deep, these are the subcuticular infection, subcutaneous infection, suppurative tenosynovitis, pyogenic arthritis of the finger, and fifth is the infection of the cellular spaces of the hand. First, we will see the subcuticular infections. Subcuticular abscess. It is called intracutaneous abscess or septic blister. This is often seen on the palmar faces of the digits and the waves. Pus collects within the layers of the skin to lift the epidermis from the dermis, and sometimes such abscesses may communicate with the subcutaneous abscesses through a small hole, and this is called as a collar stud abscess. Treatment is to excise the overlying epidermis to drain the abscess. Dear students, here is the image showing the abscess, the spot of the abscesses in the finger where the subcuticular infection is being made the abscesses. This is the subcuticular infections. Second image. Now the acute paronychia. The inflammation commences beneath the eponychium. Suppuration usually follows, which may burrow beneath the base of the nail. So paronychia means infection of the nail fold with or without extension deep to the nail. The infection is subcuticular since it is situated entirely within the dermis in which the nail is developed. The infection arises from the careless nail paring or from manicurist unsterile instruments. This is the most common infection of the hand. The diagnosis is obviously on the inspection, which shows the redness and swelling of the nail fold. It is an excruciating, painful condition. In about less than half the cases of the pus can be seen beneath the nail. Dear students, here is a good image showing the pus in the nail. This is the second image showing the same acute paronychia. Now the chronic paronychia. This condition affects women more often than men and those who do much washing. The onset is insidious. This condition has already existed for months. It seldom follows acute paronychia. The nail may become cross, ridge and pigmented acute paronychia in which the nail remains absolutely normal, but these may be sublingual extensions of pus. Treatment: preventive wearing of rubber gloves at the time of washing has considerably reduced the incidence of this condition, and the curative treatment is this indolent. The infection is best treated by diluted bradosol solution in spirit in the ratio of 1:500. This should be dropped into the nail fold twice daily. Mystatin ointment is the good antifungal treatment for chronic paronychia. If the condition does not respond to the above measures and if the infection is a bacterial one, operative treatment should be performed. Now this is the image showing the chronic paronychia. Now apical sublingual infections. This condition arises from a prick beneath the tip of the nail causing infection of the space between the sublingual epithelium and periosteum. Gradually a small abscess develops at the tip of the finger just under the nail. It is extremely painful and gives rise to comparatively little swelling. This is the redness around the abscess which extend along one or both the lateral nail folds, and to add the fallacy, this may be prolonged even into the eponychium. Treatment is the pus is drained by the excising a small V-shaped portion of the nail from the center of its free edge. Excision of nail should include excision of full thickness of the skin overlying the abscess. The amount of the pus evacuated is surprisingly small, yet the relief is great. The abscess often extends down to the bone. Now, second type of the infections of the hand is the subcutaneous infection. First is the pulse space infection, that is the phelloid. It is the second most frequent infection of the hand and comprises about 1/4 of all cases of the infections of the hand and the fingers. This infection originates usually from a prick. The index fingers and the thumb are most oftenly affected. Dear students, here is the image showing the pulse space, that is the PS, is limited proximally by the septum S. Note that the distribution of the digital A for artery. Now, this is the subcutaneous infections, that is the pulse space infection, the image of the pulse space infection. Second is the web space infection. Etiology: infection of this space is caused by the skin prick from the purulent blister from the proximal segment of the finger. Fourth is from the deep palmar space through the lumbrical canal. Clinical features are: in the beginning, the constitutional symptoms are severe. Later on, there is a localization of the infections within the space, which is indicated by edema on the back of the web space. Maximum tenderness is found in the web and on the anterior surface of the base of one of the fingers. In untreated cases, the pus may get an abscess through the dorsal skin. It must be remembered that the spread of the infection from web space to the deep palmar spaces through lumbrical canals is almost impossible. Now, the treatment of the web space infection. In the diffuse cellulitis stage, the antibiotic treatment is high dosage, that is the cloxacillin and flucloxacillin, and the elevation of the hand with the sling is quite effective. Once the abscess has been localized, the pus has to be drained out. The best approach is a short transverse incision on the palmar space and about 1 cm proximal to the web margin. The incision must be short, less than 7 mm, to avoid the injury to the digital vessels and the nerves. This should be remembered by the surgeons. Now, the third type of the infection of the hand is the suppurative tenosynovitis, that is the thecal whitlow. When the synovial sheaths of the flexor tendon become infected with pyogenic organisms and ultimately pus form within these sheaths, the condition is called suppurative tenosynovitis. Etiology of this condition is: this condition occurs directly from the puncture wound, that is a pin prick, a needle prick, or a sharp object penetrating the tendon sheath, or second is the indirectly due to the spread from the neglected subcutaneous infections, middle or terminal or proximal volar space, or injudicious incision for drainage of such abscesses. Pathology of this condition are: the infective organism is usually Staphylococcus aureus and Streptococcus pyogenes. As soon as the infection enters the sheath, a reactive effusion occurs with spread for a whole extent of the sheath. Dear students, here is the image showing the suppurative tenosynovitis. Now, the clinical features of these conditions are: uniform swelling of the whole finger except the terminal segments where there is no tendon sheath. This is an infection of a flexor tendon sheath. The infection is mainly a direct one from a prick of the needle, a thorn, or a dorsal fin of fish. The prick is obviously through the skin overlying the tendon sheath, mostly through the digits. Flexion crease at this part of skin surface is invariably nearer to the sheath. Second clinical feature is that typically the finger is held in flex position, which is classically known as a hook sign. This is an early tenderness. And third clinical features of this suppurative tenosynovitis is the tenderness over the anatomical deposition of the sheath. To determine the area of the tenderness, the end of the matchstick serves this purpose admirably. Accurate localization of the tenderness is not possible with the examiner's fingertip, which covers too wide an area. Usually the tenderness is most marked at the proximal end of the sheath in case of the index, middle and ring fingers. Now, the complications: necrosis of the tendon and adhesions of the tendon with the sheath result is in permanently stiffness of the fingers in flex position. Second is the spread of infection from one tendon sheath to another is not impossible, since the ulnar and radial bursae intercommunicate in 80% of the cases, and occasionally the tendon sheath of the index of the middle or ring fingers communicates with the ulnar bursa. Now the treatment. This should be treated immediately with the intensive chemotherapy, immobilization and elevation of the hand. If after 24 hours of conservative treatment there is not much improvement of the pain, swelling, tenderness, and if the temperature continues to be high, operation should be performed without delay. Now the operation in this condition, that is the suppurative tenosynovitis, for the index finger, middle and ring fingers, a small transverse incision is made on the proximal cul-de-sac of the tendon sheath to allow both decompression of the sheath as well as the irrigation of the antibiotics. After the pus has been evacuated, plastic cannula or a ureteric catheter of suitable caliber is introduced into the sheath. The sheath is irrigated with antibiotic solutions. Dry dressing is applied over the hand, is immobilized and elevated in the plaster splint. Dear students, here is a good picture showing the radial and ulnar bursae in this image clearly. Now this image showing the incisions for opening infected tendon sheath, that is the M, indicates the median nerve and its main branches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 8 indicate the different incisions to open the tendon sheath according to the fingers or the site of the suppurative tenosynovitis. Now the next point of this lecture is the complications of the suppurative tenosynovitis. First is the involvement of the forearm. When the radial and ulnar bursa becomes distended with pus, it may burst and pus travels proximally in the forearm between the flexor profundus tendons anteriorly and pronator cordonus and interosseous membrane dorsally. This is the space known as the Peyronie's space. Pus in this space will not show much swelling, but there will be browny induration above the wrist. In the flexor surface of the forearm, the pus is drained by the making incision on the lateral and or medial border of the forearm and by pushing a hemostat through this incision. Second is the suppurative arthritis. This occurs very rarely as a complication of the suppurative tenosynovitis. This condition may call for amputation except the thumb. Third complication of the suppurative tenosynovitis are the continuation of the suppuration is possible when there is a sloughing of tendon or bone necrosis. And fourth is the stiff finger, if possible, if the condition is not detected in time and treatment instituted. Fifth is the involvement of the median nerve is possible due to the compression of the carpal tunnel by distension of ulnar or radial bursa. Both the bursae may be distended due to the existent communication. Now, fourth point in the infections of the hand is the pyogenic arthritis of the finger. This type of the infection occurs from extension of infection from soft tissues around the joint like infection of the middle or proximal segments of the finger or suppurative tenosynovitis. Only very rarely pyogenic arthritis of the finger may occur from perforating wound of the finger. The infection is first localized in the synovial membrane, and in this stage, if treatment is done, disability may be avoided. But unfortunately, enough the articular cartilages and capsular ligaments are very quickly involved, resulting in stiffness of the fingers if not properly treated this condition. Dear students, here is the image showing the pyogenic arthritis of the fingers. Now the fifth condition of the infection in the hand, that is the infection of the cellular spaces of the hand. Cellular spaces of the hand are very important surgically, and knowledge of anatomical extent of these spaces will enable the surgeon to make proper incision for drainage of these spaces. Here is the surgical anatomy is important. There are superficial and deep palmar spaces in the palm of the hand, while in the dorsum of the hand there are subcutaneous space and subaponeurotic space. First is the superficial palmar space, lies just deep to the palmar aponeurosis and superficial to the flexor tendon. Nevertheless, it contains the superficial palmar arch and digital branches of the median and ulnar nerves. Deep palmar spaces, there are two spaces, the middle palmar space and the thinner space. Dear students, here is the image on your screen showing the subcutaneous space and the subaponeurotic space in this image. Here is the chances of the infection of the cellular spaces of the hand. Now, the deep palmar spaces, there are two spaces, the middle palmar space and the thinner space. First, the middle palmar space lies deep to the flexor tendon encircled by the ulnar bursa and superficial to the medial three metacarpal bones with intervening interossei. It is separated from the thinner space by an oblique septum which is attached deep to the third metacarpal bone and superficially to the ulnar bursa between the flexor tendons to the index finger and the middle finger. Distally, it is connected with the lumbrical canals which extend towards the medial three waves. Proximally, it is continuous deep to the flexor retinaculum with the space of the perona. Second, the thinner space lies deep to the thinner muscles and the radial bursa and superficial to the adductors pollicis muscle. Distally, it is connected with the lumbrical canal along the lateral side of the index finger and sometimes into the wave space between the index and the middle fingers. It is separated from the middle palmar space by an oblique septum and the flexor tendon to the index finger lies just superficial to this space. Now, the dorsal spaces. There are two spaces on the dorsum of the hand. First is a subcutaneous space and second is a subaponeurotic space which is showing in the previous image, being separated by the subaponeurosis which bind the extensor tendons. Peroneal space. This space lies in the lower part of the forearm anteriorly, lying deep to the flexor tendons and superficial to the pronator quadratus. Now, the infection of the superficial palmar spaces. This results from the abrasion of the skin of the palm. The hollow of the palm is obliterated by the collection of pus within this space. This skin appears to be whitish and this signifies that the pus is in the superficial palmar space. Sometimes the infection of this space may spread into the subcutaneous tissues through a small opening in the palmar aponeurosis, that is the collar stud abscess. Now, the infection of the middle palmar space. Etiology of this condition is, this condition usually originates from blood-borne infection of the hematoma in this space from a penetrating wound. Third is as complication of the suppurative tenosynovitis. Clinical features of these conditions are, the patients are mostly manual laborers and the main complaint is the intense throbbing pain in the palm of the hand. Now, the infection of the thinner space. This will lead to marked swelling in the region of the web between the thumb and the index finger or between the index or middle fingers. Flexor of the metacarpophalangeus joints of the thumb or the index finger will be painful. Next is the infection of the dorsal space. These spaces may be infected by small abrasion, arthritis of the joints, etc. Intensive antibiotic therapy should be started immediately and care must be taken to exclude the possibilities of the infection at the other spaces of the hand. Next is the infection of the peroneal space. Besides the proximal extension of the infection from middle palmar and thinner spaces, this space may be infected in suppurative tenosynovitis. Deep-seated abscess may develop. Fluctuation is difficult to elicit, but Brownian induration that pits on pressure suggests the abscess formation. Wherever it is suspected that the pus has been localized at this space, that is the peroneal space, drainage is obtained by a longitudinal incision on the most prominent part of the swelling. Longitudinal incision will save the blood vessels, tendon and the nerve at this region. But transverse incision is of more cosmetic value through the risk of the injury of the nose vessels is more in this incision. Dear students, here is the image showing the dramatic representation of the cross section of the hand. Deposition of the middle palmar, thinner and dorsal spaces, all spaces are shown in this image with their important relations. That is the tendon of the flexor pollicis longus in radial bursa, superficial palmar space, flexor tendons to all fingers in ulnar bursa, adductor muscle pollicis, thinner space, middle palmar space, dorsal subaponeurotic or subtendinous space, dorsal subcutaneous space, all spaces are shown in these cross sections of the hand. Next image showing the 1 and 2 are the incisions to drain the middle palmar space, and while the 3 is to drain the thinner space is clearly seen. Now the spreading infections of the hand, that is the first is the lymphangitis. Organism gain entrance through a minute abrasion which is often forgotten by the patient. Within a few hours of the hand becomes swollen and painful with severe constitutional disturbances like high fever. As the superficial lymphatic vessels from the palmar aspect courses to the dorsum of the hand, edema is mostly seen on the back of the hand. The hand becomes red, warm and tender. Swelling is mostly noticed on the dorsum of the hand. In fair skin, individuals red streaks may be noticed along the lymph vessels. The regional lymph nodes are often enlarged and tender, where infection enters into the lateral half of the hand, involving the thumb and index finger. The axillary nodes are first involved. When infection affects the median half of the hand, the epitrochlear group of the lymph node becomes enlarged and tender. Now, the second spreading infection of the hand is the cellulitis. This is the almost similar to the cellulitis anywhere in the body, which is already described in our previous lectures. This is the primarily treated by the antibiotics, and operative drainage is only required when there is localized abscess formation. Now, the general principles of the treatment in case of any type of the hand infection, that is the intensive antibiotic therapy. Second is the rest and elevation of the hand with proper sling. As soon as there is a evidence of localization of the pus, it should be drained by properly placed incision under anesthesia, which may be digital or general. A bloodless field is preferred as it differ better view to the position of the nerves and tendon sheaths and damages caused to them. And fourth is general principle, that is the evacuation of pus must be complete and debridement of the walls of the abscess cavity. Fifth is the proper post-operative treatment is required in the form of the care of the wound and changes of dressing. First change of dressing should be done after 24 hours of operation, and thereafter and on alternate day it would be acceptable, and the dressing should be kept dry. Dear students, here is the end of our surgery lecture number 105, that is the hand. Thank you.